No. I've locked the room now, so no Zoom trolls can join unless they're still in the room, but I don't think they are because I can recognize everyone's name. So I am going to allow people to unmute. Only unmute if you've got a question, but please raise your hand first. Jane, did you have something you wanted to ask, or was it?
Let me just throw a thought in there before we move on from here.
Yeah.
I think we sent you, and maybe you can put it in the chat, just this past weekend, Jeannie and I were invited to go and speak at a physicians conference here in Tennessee this past weekend. And we had an hour and a half, and the worksheet as it stands, a 7-step worksheet, reality management, can't really be presented effectively in an hour and a half. So what I did was I went in and I took some of the more complicated steps out of the worksheet and made a simpler 7-step reality management worksheet. So you might want to put that in the notes. It is an easier worksheet to follow and to fill out than the original 7-step that we started with. And I still suggest that you go to that one, but this is a good practice place, a good place. You know, it's kind of like the training wheels on a little kid's bike. You get good with this one, and the next one will be much easier. And we don't have it yet. Oh, hold on, Gina. Oh, Gina, I'm in the middle of a conversation. Hold on. Okay. So we don't have, it was recorded and they're editing the recording. So I don't have the video yet, but as soon as we've got it, we'll make sure to send it to Yinka. And it ended up, we actually had an hour and a half. They stretched this out to 2 hours, but we presented the essence of the forgiveness process in a 2-hour session that went hand in hand with this worksheet. So we'll send it to you, and you might want to just take a look at that. So go ahead, Gina.
Actually, I've got a couple of questions there, actually. The first, I like the 11-step worksheet. I find that very simple. And that's my favorite one. That's my go-to one. But another question popped into my mind. Do you know anything about the assemblage point in the energy field of the body?
I may know them by a different name, but I don't know. I've never heard that term, so no, I'm not familiar with it.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, it's something in our energy field that through trauma or whatever different circumstances can throw it out of its original place, and things can be done to bring it back to where it should be, 2 feet in front of our heart. And when that's in place, then we can move forward. And and
well, my offering would be, that's exactly what we're talking about. There's something you can do about it. It's called forgiveness. And wherever you store traumatic energy, there's going to be a dysfunction in tissue. There will be so-called physical disease. But since on an energetic level, we understand there's no such thing as physical, we know there's no physical disease, but there are disintegrative energies that get caught in certain tissue and reflect as a disorder. The idea, the core, the highest form of healing that I've found in all the years I've been working in this field is that of forgiveness. How you go in and remove what it sounds like, or I'll surmise, is the assemblage point, if somebody else has developed the language for. You remove the interfering energy and the tissue returns to normal. So yes, that would.
Can I just say thank you very much, Michael? I love you.
You are very welcome.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Just doing my job.
Thank you.
Cool. We have got Sandra with a question.
Let's go for it.
I'm a complete newbie on this one.
Great, glad you're here.
Yeah, and I'm up late just because I really, really wanted to catch you and kind of get an introduction to your work.
I see you have a healer there on your lap.
Yes, definitely. Turquoise eye.
Beautiful.
Rescue, by the way. So
very pretty cat.
Yeah, he rescued me and I rescued him. So I've been doing the really intensive work in the last couple of years, and I'll just say that Dispenza's been my teacher. Read all the books, done the courses, and I'm really into work. But
some great stuff.
I am coming up against some blocks. And I guess it's subconscious and it hasn't come up yet. And just as I think I've really gotten to the bottom of this, and I need to prune these limiting beliefs and graft in the ones I want to believe in. Just recently, I mean, I had some huge breakthroughs with it, just
Mhm.
huge, you know, like the kind of breakthroughs where you cry and you scream during meditation. Okay, good.
Okay.
Stuff is coming out. Roll with it, you know?
I'll suggest you breathe at those moments. It's better than screaming and crying. You know, if it just for a demonstration's sake, take a look at my field right now, my so-called body, and tell me which way you think there's more energy flowing through my structure. Or which way does it look like I'm processing and moving more energy?
It seems like when your head is back, more energy's actually flowing out.
When I'm breathing, you
When you're
notice that
breathing,
in order to cry and scream, I have to close everything down. I have to close the structure of my cranium down. I have to close my jaw down. I have to close my. This is called holding on. Screaming, crying, beating a pillow means I'm holding on. Yes, it does create some measure of release, but you're 1,000 steps further if you'll soften, if you'll open, especially up here. This is where a lot of people are restricted. You know, you look at the classic old man or old woman at 90, and what do they look like?
Mm.
Everything's closed down. Opening it up, breathing into it. That's what moves things on the deepest cellular level. So the next time you hit one of those things, I'll just invite you to soften, open. We do a process called still point breathing, and in that we'll get people who will come to our center to do some work. And when we go to do still point breathing, they'll jam a pillow under their heads like this. It's like, no, we're going to get rid of the pillow. This is a way to hold on. Shutting this down is based in what's called sympathetic dominance, fear, flight, fright, freeze, or fawning. And what we want to do is soften everything, open it up, breathe into it, and let the energy move.
Okay.
Drama and trauma in the breath work, the still point breathing work that I've developed, drama and trauma are considered to be a signal that I don't want to let go. I can't do drama and trauma if I'm fully open and I'm breathing. And when I access drama and trauma that's in me, in order to make it expressed in the external world, I have to close down on it. If I open up on it and breathe, I just move the energy out. It's a whole lot more efficient, would be my offering. At least try it and see what you think.
Okay.
Cool.
I mean, I'm open. I'm open for anything. You know, I'm coming at it from a pure heart in a pure place, and it's like whatever comes out of those meditations. You know, I'm at such a point where I'm like, if I have to be broken, if I have to surrender to being broken, to open my heart, I'm game for anything. So, but the opposite to that, if you say, just breathe and open that back up and open that chest up and open that back up, that head, if that's going to get more energy moving, that's pretty cool. I could go with that because the alternative is that it does get really, really intense. It's not painful. I mean, I don't feel those emotions actually. I don't know where they're coming from, you know, like I don't feel the pain. It's like I dissociate from myself, but it is very intense. And it would be nice to have a more gentle process.
Yeah, I would invite you to let go of dissociating from yourself, because if you're dissociating, it means that you're disconnected from the actuality of what's happening at the moment. And when you breathe,
no, I'm saying I'm not dissociated. I'm not dissociated.
You're not feeling the pain.
Maybe I
You're
said that. I'm not. I'm dissociated from the process, but I'm not dissociated from the emotions. It's just like I don't know. It's like I don't know. It's just coming from somewhere, and there's some unidentified something. Maybe it's just energy that's coming out, and I'm not. I don't know. I can't explain myself.
got it. I hear
I
you.
just I don't feel the pain. You know, I just feel the intensity of what's going on physically, but I do not feel the pain at
Well,
all.
if you'll just try letting yourself breathe, and rather than, whenever one is cutting their breath off, holding the breath, restricting the breath isn't flowing freely. It means there's a lockdown of something going on. If you let
Okay.
yourself breathe in those moments, it's interesting. The reason why the type of breathing that I teach and develop is called still point breathing is because the moment where the deepest release is where the breath, as opposed to being held, spontaneously stops. That's when physiology goes into a superconductor state, and whatever's moving and whatever's ready to be let go, bang, it moves. It just, boom, literally in a fraction of a second, or in 3 seconds of a still point, you can just move mountains. And it's done in the stillest, quietest, most connected spaces. So give that a try.
I'm sorry, are you talking about breath holds on this one then?
No, I'm not talking about breath holding. That's a different technique of breathing. But when
Sorry,
one
I'm a newbie. So.
when one engages in still point breathing, it's a way where you're keeping the breath moving and keeping the breath connected. But there comes a point where, and I call it a superconductor state. I don't know if you're familiar with the idea of a superconductor, but let's imagine that I get a call from my neighbor down the road and he says, hey, I'm a half a mile from you and my power has gone out. Do you have some extension cords that could get me some power down here so I can fix this? I say, sure, yeah, I've got, let's see, you're half a mile, 2,000 feet. I've got about 200 10-foot extension cords. Yeah, I'll plug them all together and I'll plug them in the wall here and I'll bring the end of the cord down there for you. Now, if I measure the power in the wall here, I've got, I don't know what the voltage is over there, but here I've got 120 volts. I think it's 240 over there. So I've got 120 volts and bang, I measure it and it's there. If I go down the road at the end of those 200 extension cords and I measure the power, I might have 80 volts. And if he starts his drill, the voltage will, because of the resistance in those wires, will probably drop to 30 volts. That's how you burn things out with electricity. So the resistance in the wire, and it's interesting, in the Aramaic language, the word Satan does not mean some dude with a red suit, a tail, and a pitchfork. The word Satan means the resistor, one who misleads. So we want to move from that resistance state to a superconductor state. If I had a superconductor that I plugged in the wall here, and it was a half mile long and I went down there, I would measure the voltage here, it's 120. At his house, it's 120. He hooks up his drill, he hooks up his electric heater, and he hooks up his stove to it, and it's drawing all kinds of current, and the voltage is a solid 120 volts because this is a superconductor. In still point, my thesis, my background's in the electronic world, so I tend to see things through those eyes. My thesis is that when you breathe to still point, where the breath not being held, no holding at all, but spontaneously stops, that's the superconductor point, and that's where things bang, just break loose in mass. And you can move through decades or years of trauma in a matter of minutes in that state. But the breath is the key to it.
Thank you so much.
Hey, delighted.
Yeah. I mean, I do several different types of breath work. And I know that stuff is moving out. Yeah.
It's key.
Yeah.
Interesting. If you go to
I'll
the Aramaic
definitely
language.
look into yours.
Say again?
I'll definitely look into yours. Definitely.
Oh, cool.
I'm very interested in practice breath work. Yeah.
If you go into the Aramaic language, it's interesting. We're told in the Western scriptures by the Greeks, be careful. We're told that God sent out his spirit. But actually in Aramaic, what that says is the creator sent out its breath. It's our direct connection. It's what moves energy in us. It's what moves life in us. And when we cut ourselves off from the breath, we're cut ourselves off from life. And the still point is a way to breathe fully and freely to get fully reconnected. to the life force in us.
Any chance that you could demonstrate it? If it's not too much
Well,
time.
actually, it's a process that can open up anything that people have been holding on to, and therefore it tends for people who are carrying trauma to open trauma wounds pretty deeply. And so I've never written about it. I've never done a video about it. I've never talked about it publicly. It's something I only do in a session where we've got the right environment and people have got support for moving through things. So it's not something that I would just say, oh, here, take this and use it. It's something that people just need some support with. And ultimately, it's a tool that's meant to be used for yourself, by yourself, but it takes some instruction and understanding as to how it works to be able to, I wouldn't just say, oh, here are the instructions, go off, do it by yourself. It wouldn't be a good thing for people to do.
And I would second that, because I do come to some Michael's still point breathing sessions, because I've noticed that when I do it, especially when I do it on my own, I've been trained myself, or I've been trained through life to hold my breath if something comes up, and having someone say, breathe, because and I don't even realize I'm doing it, because I'm holding that back in. It's like, oh, and I'm constantly like, one thing why I've continued doing it, coming to the sessions, is because when I had the brain hemorrhage experience, and I went for those moments where people say you had your death experience, where I know Michael calls it your life experience.
Right.
That for me, that's like going back home. That sense of I'm going back home. And then when I do still point breathing, it's like I go back home. That feeling of I'm back home, yeah. And that's what I enjoy about that I'm going back home kind of feeling. I know once I'm there, I'm home, and nothing else.
Great point. And the idea is to bring home to here.
Mm-hmm.
So you live there all the time.
Yeah.
But share with us a little bit about what your experience has been when you've been doing still point.
It made me very aware of how much I hold my breath, but it's also helped with stuff that's hidden, that I've hidden from us. I've not known is really there. And it's like some stuff that's come up is like, I really think like that. Is that really me? It's like someone's just put a mirror in front of me, and I'm like, is that me? I wouldn't do that. And it is, because that's how I've been thinking. Some of the stuff's been in the whole of my life without even realizing it. But because I'm in that kind of soft, I'm home place, it doesn't have that, oh gosh, kind of, I don't want this, need to get rid of it. I can just allow myself to breathe through it.
Well, here's my take on what happens there, and that's a good way to say it, my at-home place. Is that copyrighted? Can I use that?
You can use that.
That really is an excellent way to speak about it. And what it is that when we're in this holding resistance, carrying a generations and generations of trauma around, we have to keep a defense against it. When I open and allow myself to process what doesn't belong, then I step into that superconductor state, and things just move, and I'm freed of the burden. The energy charge is released through the breath. And then, it's just a memory. Oh, there's a memory there. And part of how that happens, my experience on the inside in the still point process is that, and you've heard me say before, doing worksheets and, doing this work, that ultimately you need to be out of your mind. And what happens is in that, when the breath starts to move and you move into that still point place, the capacity for the mind to generate constructs, perceptions, collapses. Now, usually when something starts to move under the surface, I have to process, oh, this happened when I was 3, and that went on, and that went on, and that went on, and then when I was 12, this and that, and I process all through these conceptual frameworks. And that can get pretty complicated and takes a lot of time. When I allow myself to be in the breath, actually one of the Beatitudes can be translated as, you who have a home in the breath. We were told to be poor in spirit. They said, God's in our spirit. No, it's actually breath. It's home in the breath. When your home is in the breath, your mind isn't generating constructs. It's like you don't have to, if there's a trauma energy there, you don't have to process through the framework of all these thoughts and all these experiences. That collapses. And with the active presence of love, you're just processing those traumas directly, the energy on an energetic level, and you tend to move through them just like so much faster. So that would be my explanation of what happens and why it works so powerfully. Let's see, who's got a hand up? Coco. Or Cor, pardon me.
Corey.
Okay, Corey, pardon me, I got it.
Corey, yeah.
Yeah. Thank
Welcome, young lady, how are you?
you. Yeah, I am very interested in that breathing because I have the question, for example, when I wake up at night and I have a really bad dream or a really negative thought, and then I am now doing a lot of breathing, but more that breathing like from the Buddhism breathing, like inhale 1 and exhale 2, inhale 1 and exhale 2. But that is more, I mean,
Trying to control it.
right. And I want to get rid of that negative. I think I want to get rid of something.
Here's what you bring up as you say that in the way of understanding. Pretty much everybody's familiar with the Jedi movies, the Star Wars. And you'll remember that in Star Wars, one of the bottom line messages is, may the Force be with you. In other words, I'm going to control the Force and I'm going to drag the Force around wherever I want it. That's backward. You don't want the Force to be with you. You want to be with the Force. If you're trying to control your breath, that's kind of like, may the Force follow my directions. I want this healing power in me to do what I want it to do. And of course, I have a generational mind that's pretty insane with my hostility and fear. So I don't want to look at too many things. And so I'll tend to hold it back. But the other way around is all you want to do is soften and breathe, and you follow the breath. You be with the breath. And when that happens, then you be with the Force. And it's a total reversal of, that little error that was put out there that, so many people have been introduced. They want the Force to be with them. It kind of ties into the Aramaic idea, or pardon me, the Greek idea of prayer. You notice we live in a culture that tells us to pray, and we're supposed to pray without ceasing. And prayer is, of course, having your hands folded and being down on your knees. Actually, in Aramaic, the word prayer means to set a trap for God. God being love, the human energy field is a custom-made device to capture, we live, move, and have our being in this energy field. And we're designed, because we're made of the same stuff, to capture that energy and pour it out into the world. So we are beings constructed of love. An antenna system called a body-mind unit, core of the antenna is a cranial structure and the spinal structure in the bones. We are designed to capture that energy and reflect it and pour it out into the world. That's what prayer means. It literally means to set a trap for God. So the TV antenna on your roof is a trap for, if you want to watch Channel 4 and you tune the TV to it, it's a trap for Channel 4. Now, if you're watching Channel 4 and you have a beautiful picture and sound, and somebody goes up on the roof and bends the arms of the antenna and turns the antenna backward, you're not watching Channel 4 for much longer. At least it's not going to be a very good picture or a very good sound, because the trap is misaligned. So when they said pray without ceasing, it meant there will come a point where you will be aligned, so aligned with love, so in touch with the truth of who you are, that you will continuously capture and pour active love into the world, which is the function, the original design and function of a human being. It's interesting, if you go and there's a video on our YouTube channel on the Lord's Prayer. Quote unquote, and I say that with big quotes because that's not what it is at all. The so-called Lord's Prayer is not a prayer. If you go back and you listen to that passage, and again, this got nothing to do with religion, it's got nothing to do with theology. It's just where we live as energetic beings. So you listen to them, and there's obviously a lot of confusion in the disciples because they say, tell us how to pray. Now, imagine that let's say I'm a voice coach, I'm a singing teacher, and you say, Michael, teach us to sing. If I sang a song for you, would I be teaching you to sing? No. I mean, you might learn a couple of things about singing if I sang you a song, if I'm a good singer and I teach singing. But if I were going to teach you to sing, I'd instruct you on, okay, here's what you have to do with this cavity called your mouth. Here's what you have to do with your lungs. You breathe from your diaphragm. Here's how you sing. I give you instructions. Now, if you listen to that man, there's a point where he says, don't be known for your much speaking. It's like, that's a waste of time. And don't repeat and repeat. That's rote. That's called running out of the carbon-based memory system, out of rote mind. And so when you go to that set of instructions, obviously these people were confused about what the word meant. They didn't know it meant to set a trap for love, to bring the full expression of love into the world. So that so-called prayer, which many in churchianity say it every week, our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name, like wrote out of their minds, like you're supposed to say it over and over again. It's going to do something for you, the exact opposite of what the man said to do. But he gave a set of instructions. Here's how you orient yourself and align yourself to capture active present love and bring it through your form into the world. If I were the antenna manufacturer and you called me and said, Michael, somebody went up on my roof and bent all the arms in the antenna and turned it backward, what do I do? I would give you instructions. I would tell you how to orient the antenna. Okay, here's where you turn it. Now let's see, where are you? Let me look at the map. Okay, here's the system here, there. So you need this orientation, turn it 38 degrees northwest, whatever. So you'd orient it. And then I give you instructions on how those arms on the antenna are supposed to be shaped. You'd bend them all to shape. And now you'd have a perfect signal in your TV set again. We have been so misaligned, literally, this bony structure in the head. We do a thing called hands-on energy field work that's about realigning the antenna. And this bony structure in the head, people think when the baby's soft spot hardens that the head's fixed, but it's not. Your head right now, my head, everybody's head is continuously, if it's not traumatized, doing this. Now I'm exaggerating, it's only a millimeter or two, but the shape of an antenna determines the frequencies it receives. When you realize this complicated set of bones and the whole structure, I mean, literally your shoulders, everything is continuously in motion. It's a self-adjusting antenna. It goes through a range of frequencies that you're designed to capture to feed your organic structure and bring this energy into the world. If, let's say, little Johnny was dropped on his parietal bone when he was a baby, and that thing became jammed up. And I'm not saying this is literal, but let's say that the liver feeds off of or is powered by the energy that comes through that parietal bone. Johnny, at the locking up of his parietal bone, has liver problems. Now they can surgery and drug and do everything they want to that liver until they restore the power supply. His liver's not going to work properly. And so restoring the proper range of motion of this antenna, becoming aligned as we're designed to be, then we capture the energy in which we live, move, and have our being as we're designed to do as human beings, nothing to do with church, just here's what we're designed to do, to flood the world with active present love. Remember that newborn when they come into your life and the world, the energy they flooded your world with?
Yeah.
How long did it take to get them to stop doing that? What do you have to do to a child? How many ways, how many times do you have to physically, mentally, emotionally traumatize a child so that his energy field or her energy field exudes hate and rage and fear and grief and guilt and attack? What do you have to do to that field to stop it from being a space of just the pure presence of love that it's designed to be? The work of forgiveness is to remove the blocks to being aware of ourselves as love and to physiologically remove the locked in energies that for most of us have been there for 1,000 generations, to start to address those, to soften those, and to remove those. That's what forgiveness is. It's to restore us to our proper range of motion. And if you want to take a look, just go to our YouTube channel. It's the name on the channel is Michael Rice. And look up that Lord's Prayer. It just, we go through the whole thing. There's not a translation of the Lord's Prayer, but rather there's an interpretation. Instead of the instructions that would be given 2,000 years ago, I bring it more into our modern language. And what would it mean if we were to listen to a set of instructions that would bring us into alignment with love and allow us to capture and flow the active presence of love in the world? What would it look like? What would your alignment be? What would you do? So that's what that instruction set is about.
That was very interesting, because I got a relief when you said that just breathing, just only breathing, and not that control breathing what I did. And that really did not, that was like in the military, you were 1, 2, 1, 2. And also when you said with the laugh to that the laugh is the key. That was,
Yeah. I mean, hold a newborn child, you know exactly who we are.
yeah.
And sadly, we live in a culture, or cultures, you know, all of us, you know, several of us being from different cultures, that has learned for most how to beat the presence of love out of us. And then they'll tell us to go out into the world and find somebody to love, or find somebody to love us, like it's something we could do to each other. And now the mind is in a whole false journey. I have to find somebody to love. You know, what was that song? Don't you want somebody to love? Don't you? No, you don't. What you want to do is step into the practice of being the presence of love. You can't get it from somebody else. You can't give it to somebody else. That's a whole false journey. And people are out there trying to get love, trying to give love. No, the pursuit is remove everything in you, genetic and otherwise, that blocks the presence of love in you. Open your physiology, breathe through and let go of those traumas, and here you are. You arrive on earth. You are the presence of love. Hold a newborn child. You know exactly what human life is. And life itself, my best definition I've been able to come up with so far for life, is that life is the movement of love through a cell. And anything we do to restrict that, hate, fear, anger, control your breath, restricts life. You go back to that man, Yeshua, and, you know, he didn't say, I'm coming to bring you dogma or doctrine or churchianity. He had a single purpose. I'm coming to bring you life. That's it. Life more abundantly. How do you increase the flow of love through your cellular structure? And when you bring that into the world tends to reorganize itself around you, and it changes very quickly. And to do that, the system and all of its energy dynamics have to be aligned. I think we're going to finish with a meditation called Wellness to Stillness today. And that is designed to align the mind with the antenna structure to bring more into the world of what we're here to design to reflect into the world.
Mm. Thank you so much.
You are so welcome. And if you want to, you know, participate at some point in the Mind Shifters and Still Point Breathing, there's a Mind Shifters and Still Point Breathing Club that we do once a month. It's the second Saturday of the month at 11 o'clock Eastern time. And then on Tuesday evening at 7 o'clock, although I'm thinking about changing that because we actually had someone who was in the club who was in Hawaii. So we made it, you know, earlier for her, but we may change it because this last session that we did with a young lady from England, you know, the one we're talking about, the one that's with us today, Nika. And then there's another student that we've had for years who just moved to Spain. We ended up, the Tuesday night session didn't go with it. Each month it's a 2-session thing, Saturday morning and Tuesday evening. So we may change the time on that so that we can, it's a little easier for those who are on the other side of the pond to get to join us. But that's the second Saturday of the month and the Tuesday following that. It is one of the workshops that we charge a fee for. And there's several levels of participation. If you're interested in that, you can just look on the website under events and it'll explain it all.
Mm-hmm.
So, and you can do a one session, you can just do a 1 month, 1 session type of thing, or there's a package of 3, or there's a yearly membership that you can do.
Okay.
Cool. Well, anybody else with a hand up, a thought for us? Question? Yes.
Got Carla, our magical genius, is up. She's got a question.
Hi. Yeah, good night.
Hi, perturbed geniuses. Tell us about interrupt geniuses. That sounds interesting.
It's supposed to be interplanetary geniuses, and that's what Dr.
Oh,
Jewel,
okay.
yeah, Dr.
Okay.
Jewel is, yeah.
Cool. Well, here we are.
Right. So everybody, hi, interplanetary geniuses. All right. I would just
Thank
like
you for recognizing us.
You're welcome. I would just like you to go over the use of the mind shifter again, please, if
Yes.
it's not a problem. Thank
Oh,
you.
sure. Absolutely. Actually, we just did the group we did the new worksheet with this past weekend. We were on their podcast on Tuesday, and I did the mind shifter tools. So hopefully we're going to get that video, and if we do, we'll make sure that you get it as well. I did about a 45-minute thing with them on the mind shifter, but here's the idea. Again, definition of a mind shifter. A mind shifter is a thought about an issue in your life around which you have negative thoughts, and it's the opportunity to surface, process, and release the negative thoughts. So that's our definition. So what I want to do with a mind shifter is I want to come up with something that will stir in me the file related to whatever that situation is. So let's say somebody's got poverty, they're just broke all the time, and nothing works in the financial realm. So a mind shifter for that person would be, I have all the time, intelligence, money, energy, and love I need to accomplish all of my aspirations. So that would be a mind shifter for someone with a poverty issue. I have all the time, intelligence, money, and energy I need to accomplish all my aspirations. So what we would ask you to do, if that was your mind shifter, is you take a pen. I think I've got one here. And what you would do is you draw a line down the middle of the page. And on the left-hand side of the page, you'd write the mind shifter. I have all the time, intelligence, money, energy, and love I need to accomplish all my aspirations. Now, usually if you've got the right mind shifter, once you write it once, then you go over to the other side of the page. The camera's got it backward here. You go over to the other side of the page. And so on the other side of the page, then you write what your mind comes up with in response to that mind shifter. Usually when you've got a right mind shifter, the mind says BS. Who are you trying to kid? What do you mean I have all the time? I've never got enough money. I can't pay my bills. I just had my car repossessed. What are you talking about? I have all the money I need. Okay. Go back and write the mind shifter again. I have all the time, intelligence, money, energy, and love I need to accomplish all of my aspirations. Well, that's just a crazy thought. I'm having trouble paying the rent. And, you might write 2 or 3 different ideas down. Then you go back and you write the mind shifter again. I have all the time, intelligence, money, energy, and love I need to accomplish all my aspirations. Well, that's just ridiculous. My family's always been in poverty. That's just the way our family system is. I can remember when I was a kid, the last big fight Dad had before he went out the door, and I never saw him again. Bingo. He just came across a major core issue. So now that I've touched into that, maybe I was only 3 when Dad left, and I had no idea that was there. And all of a sudden, bang, there it is in front of me. Now I know that that's an arena in order to have all the time, intelligence, money, and energy that to accomplish all my aspirations. That's the arena I'm going to work in to clean up that part of my mind. And so you simply, the more important the issue is, the more time you spend writing. You write. And just each time you write the mind shifter, when you realize the mind stores things in files, so to speak, it's the stuff at the bottom of the file that you want to get to. And so each time you write, because the mind works by resonance, it's like turning the volume on those hidden brain cells up a little bit. You write it again, volume's turned up a little more. You write it again, the volume's turned, and then finally, bingo, it crashes through into awareness. And here you are writing something that you never knew was in your mind. And then you know where your next piece of work is. Does that fit? Does that tell you what you need to know?
Yeah, perfect. It does. I understand now. All right. Thank you very, very much.
Honored and delighted.
Right.
And then again, once you finish your mind shifter, and it might be 1 page or 10 pages, once you finish it, then you just go back and look at everything on the right-hand side, and you start to look, you become very conscious at what your unconscious thoughts were. And that's when you touch into those things. And, it's interesting. I remember mind shifters workshop and still point breathing workshop I was doing. They go hand in hand as tools up in Toronto, Canada. So 30 years ago, 30 plus years ago. And it was on that topic of abundance. And the mind shifter was something similar to the one I just gave you. I don't remember exactly what it was back then, but we had everybody in the group. We were prepping to do some breathing, and we had everybody in the group read that mind shifter. And one of the women in the group read the mind shifter, and she inserted, I don't remember exactly, 2 or 3 words that weren't on the page. You know, she's reading it from a page, and she inserted words. And so I asked her to read it again without saying anything. Just, would you read that again? She read it again, and she inserted those 2 or 3 words. I said, okay, would you point to the words on the page and read it for me again? And she pointed to the words on the page. She pointed to the words that were not even on the page and read them. Which, you know, when you realize that the mind constructs the world we see and substitutes it for the actuality. So there was the actuality of some words on a page, and her mind substituted and literally, I mean, she literally pointed to the page and read words that weren't there. That's how powerful the mind is at hallucinating the world we see. And so as you start to drill down into that content, I mean, all kinds of crazy things come up. And the idea is whatever is in me that is not based in love, if I bring it forward in the presence of love, it dissolves. That's all. It just dissolves.
I'm now thinking it could be a very useful tool as well when you just do, sorry about my dogs there.
That's okay.
Yeah, it could be a very useful tool when I'm going through the worksheet, when I'm going through the forgiveness sheet, and there's something I don't want to give up, because there's this part in when you're doing the forgiveness sheet that Yinka puts up, and it says what it would feel like to let it go, but still there is a part of me that doesn't want to let go control of my children. And I'm realizing it as I do the forgiveness sheet. And I think I'll use the mind shifter with respect to that first. Yeah. So I'm thinking it's a very good tool there. Yeah.
Okay. Well, let me ask a question. This is probably silly, offhand, doesn't relate to anything, but just kind of offhanded. How did it feel for you when the power person did everything they could do to control you?
I went berserk.
Are you breathing? Are you breathing?
I could feel a pain in my chest.
So how do you suppose it feels for your kids?
Yeah, I know my daughter got a bit outraged the other day, and I realized, and it was a simple thing of asking her to wash a spoon in the sink. And afterwards I thought, why was that so important that you had to, bring that up? She was hurried to go. You could have just washed the spoon. But just because I want to control and keep the kitchen clean, and that's ridiculous, I thought afterwards.
So you know what's more important than a clean kitchen? Keeping a connection of love with your daughter. Far, far more important than a clean kitchen.
You're sure right. Yeah, you're sure right.
But if we've got a power person issue, this comes out of our codependence work. If we've got a power person issue that we haven't resolved, then when I'm under stress, and stress is caused by holding goals. When I have a goal for her, I'm you now, I have a goal for her, and it ties right into my power person dynamic, and I was always controlled and it was all out of rage, then I'm going to compulsively work to control her. Because under stress, there's a thing in the mind that we call the automatic decision system. The automatic decision kicks in and forces us to do behaviors until those behaviors are forgiven. And when under stress, what the mind will force you to do is to do what your power person did to you that you hated the most. That's what you'll do to her.
Wow.
And it's unconscious. In a million years, I'm sure that we could have a conversation with you and you want the best and the brightest and the most awesome things for your daughter. But when that dynamic kicks in, all the rage in the world, doesn't matter. You're going to do that behavior. And until you apply forgiveness and you find that energetic pattern in you and remove it, it just drives behavior. You know, the power person dynamic, and until, you know, it runs the world. Until this dynamic is understood and forgiven and healed, everybody in the world is controlled by it. It runs governments, it runs business, it runs families, it runs communities. And as far as I know, until this work, there has been no proper explanation of the power person dynamic anywhere in the world. But simply, here's how it works. I mean, it can be explained in 3 minutes. And once you understand it and you start to go to work with it, you'll remove those dynamics and that energy from your relationship with your daughter. So in order for a power person dynamic to be instilled in a mind, 3 things have to happen. It's usually between a parent and a child, though not always. It can happen. I worked with a guy a few years ago that had been in a robbery and the guy held a gun to his head. He had that power person dynamic going and he was in his 70s when it happened. But it's usually between a parent and a child. And here are the conditions that instill it in a child's mind. 1, the parent has more control over the child than the child does. 2, the parent is not functioning as a human being, is not functioning out of love, out of a connected space. And 3, the child perceives the circumstance as survival. And I just about guarantee from what you've told me, that's what your daughter's going through when you try to get her to do what you want her to do with the spoon. That's her construct of her mind. Once that happens to a child, then the child's energy field opens wide. They're like an open sponge. And every energy going on in the environment, that child's energy field just sucks it in. For the rest of that person's life, I don't care if it's 2 minutes later, 2 years later, 20 or 50 years later, there are only 3 behaviors that child, when they become an adult, will be able to do until this dynamic is resolved. The 3 behaviors are determined by the level of stress that they're under. When there's no stress, they'll do whatever they did to get along with their power person. So that might be, let's say, you know, the personality that I developed with my power person was to be Mr. Funny and Mr. Nice Guy. So I'm Mr. Funny, Mr. Nice Guy, or Ms. Funny, Ms. Nice Guy. And that's my normal persona. And then when stress starts to build, that person who's Mr. or Ms. Nice Guy will turn into whatever they did. The behavior, the automatic decision system will kick in and force them to do whatever behavior they did to resist and survive with their power person. So that might be they become Mr. or Ms. Snarky. This often happens in marriages. People come together, they have matching bags of garbage, they're attracted to each other, they say silly things like I love you rather than I am the being of love that stands in the space with you as love. And they develop relationship out of that. And they start bouncing off of each other's power person dynamics. We're attracted to people that are going to show us what it is we need to heal. Because on that unconscious level, which is a lot bigger than our conscious mind, we're automatically being drawn into the circumstances that are going to show us what we need to deal with. So, you know, these 2 people get married and he or she, it's like, well, all of a sudden they become Mr. or Ms. Snarky. And it's like, wait a minute, we've been together for 5 years and you've always been Mr. or Ms. Nice Guy. What happened to you? What's wrong with you? You've changed. No, they didn't change. The level of stress changed. And now a different power person dynamic, a different behavior is coming forward. So that's when stress starts to build. And then when a person becomes ultra stressed, they will do whatever their power person did to them that they hated the most. So let's say, you know, dad or mom hit, then now this person will be inclined to hit. They'll go into physical abuse. It's like, what happened? You were Mr. Ms. Nice Guy all those years. Why did you become Mr. Ms. Snarky? And why are you hitting me? What's wrong with you? You've never, it's just a power person dynamic. And if you watch somebody, and that's why I kind of joke when I say, oh, well, this is just kind of offhanded, maybe doesn't relate to anything. You can precisely define what a power person did to someone when you watch the behavior they do when they're under extreme stress, because it will just be a replica of what the power person did to them. You
I
can
see it.
set your clock by it.
I see it. I see it because I would shout at them and, I would use some foul words sometimes.
Just like your daughter
And
does.
yes, and that's what she does now. Um, before I tried to apologize when I started to learn what I was doing was not correct. Because I kind of grew up in a challenging situation, and I tried to explain to them, well, I didn't know these things before, and I thought, and in our culture, it's okay to do these things.
There are a lot of insane cultures on the planet,
Yeah.
And they did a child trauma study a few years ago in America. And I don't remember exactly the numbers, but something like 60% of children in America had one or more of the 8 childhood trauma experiences that happened to people. 60% had one or more of those trauma experiences. And they are long-lasting, debilitating, energetic experiences that, until they're forgiven, destroy people's lives. And it's sad, and it's crazy, and it's insane. But that's where we are today. So now, one by one, when I realize it, I go, oh, I need to breathe. I need to do some forgiveness around that and clean that one up, and then go back. There's another tool that we teach called responsibility communication. We do that in a workshop called Communication. Did you hear what I think I said? And if you'll start to use some responsibility communication with your daughter, you'll probably be open a space where this conversation can take place, and you can diffuse the power person energies that you hold in you, and she'll be able to diffuse the power person energies that she had delivered to her genetically and that you delivered to her environmentally. And together you'll open a whole space of healing for your whole bloodline. I love what the man who invented the Salk vaccine says, Jonas Salk. He says the most important thing to do is to be a good ancestor. Good ancestors clean up their genes.
Yeah, Michael, so the responsibility communication is on the website as well, right?
Yes. Yep.
Okay, so I'll go and
And
look for it.
if you look in our radio show archives, there are a couple of shows where we've talked extensively about that. There is a video of that workshop available. And 4-hour audio communication. Did you hear what I think I said? That's streaming or physical media that you can buy on the site. But yeah, it's there. And again, we talked about it in the radio show. I'm not sure whether there's anything about the communication tool on our website. There is a responsibility communication worksheet. If you go to the website, whyagain.org, in the upper left-hand corner, there's a link that says Start Here. If you go to that link, thanks to Yinka, there's a video that explains how to use the worksheet, or pardon me, how to use the website. And you go, she'll explain how to get to other worksheets, and then look for responsibility communication. The instructions are there on the website free, so you can download those, and they're pretty self-explanatory.
Okay, thank you so much. Thanks a lot.
You are most welcome. Just doing my job. That's what we're here for.
Yeah, thank
Honored to have
you.
the opportunity. Cool.
That was really helpful questions, Carla, because that was really helpful for me too. Can I just ask a question? This is for somebody that was doing a worksheet this morning, because they were struggling with the same thing of letting go. And their thing was to love herself as much as God does.
Mm-hmm.
And once she got to that, letting that go, she decided there was another issue, and didn't actually follow through the worksheet, and went off and started again. So I did recommend to her to go back to that. And she goes, yeah, but it's a good thing that to want, to need, to love myself as much as God does. I'm not sure what advice you would give to somebody who's got resistance of letting something go that does seem like a good idea.
Well, I've got some really bad news for her.
Mm-hmm.
God doesn't love her. God doesn't love you, me, or anybody. And she doesn't love herself. She doesn't love anybody, and nobody loves her. It's not possible. Love is a noun. It's a state of being. It's what we are. It's not a verb. We were tricked. Remember, the newborn comes in as the active presence of love. That's beaten out of them. And then they're sent out to find somebody to love them. And now a state of being is turned into something we get from somebody else. And we pursue that in place of the pursuit of being the presence of love. So I would suggest that she forgive anything to do with wanting God to love her, because God doesn't. God is the space that, you know, and we use that word like we've got some comprehension of what it is. Like when you hear in that field we live, move, and have our being, like how do you even start to contemplate what that even means, what that word, what that field could possibly be, except that it does tell us that it's love. That field is love, and so are we. So once you drop that goal to love yourself as much as God loves you, once that goal goes, then you open the space to start to be able to experience yourself as that newborn energy of love that you are, and start to function out of that instead. Now you go to the world and your goal is to be the presence of love, whatever you confront, whatever comes into your space. Now you're functioning as an actual human being. That's where human life starts.
Mhm.
As long as we're living out of this program mind, oh, it's supposed to be this way, it's supposed to be that way. All the goals that link to any form of hostility or fear, when you cancel them, you'll drop into the underlying hostility or fear and process it out. And this craziness, there's so much silliness going on in the world and in ourselves, just starts to dissolve as you step in and do that work. So that's why we're here to encourage and support.
Because I recommended staying with the worksheet, would you advise that as well, to stay with the worksheet? Because they're saying that it's so she would be able to see what's behind her desire for that.
Yes. When I do a worksheet, I always have about a dozen blanks in my hand. And if I'm doing a worksheet, let's say something like that, and I come across, oh, there's a different, I'll go and I'll start the other worksheet, the one that I just became aware of, because those things can be elusive. I touch into it. If I don't write it down right then, oh, what was that worksheet I needed to do? You know, it's gone. So I'll write that down, but I'll always come back to the root one. And in my experience over the years, when I do, especially an important worksheet, I usually uncover, when I write the worksheet out, I'm paying attention. I'm putting it in the app. I'm paying attention to my thoughts in a different way. And I'll usually uncover 2, 3, or 4 other worksheets that I need to do related to that issue. And it's like we have this complex of underpinnings for each reality that our mind structures. When we start knocking those underlying structures out, then this whole pained reality based in that underlying dynamic collapses. Now we're free of it. That makes sense?
Yeah.
Cool.
Thank you.
Good. You know,
No
something
other
I've been
hand?
appreciating. Something I've been appreciating lately, that just for me with my granddaughter, and it's been kind of mind-boggling, some of the things that she's understanding and some of the things we're teaching her and such, that she's just are just natural to her. Oh, we see with our brain, not with our eyes. It's like, how different would our lives have been if we were 4 and we knew that stuff? Like, what would we have not had to go through? What we have not had to put our children through and our parents through? I mean, it's monumental. So give it to the kids.
I did buy my son all those books that you recommended, those spot books.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely
Oh,
adorable.
aren't they great? Yeah.
They are.
Aria just loves those spot books. They're awesome.
Yeah. The first day I bought them, they took all the little teddies. He has them under his blanket in his bed.
Nice. Cool. Yeah, my granddaughter loves to read from those books and have those little spots.
Yeah. He reads the scribble book a lot. That's one he seems to be attracted to.
That's her favorite too.
Mm.
And what we're talking about, there's a series of books called The Little Spot, and I forget the author's name. They're on Amazon. They come in sets, or you can buy the books individually. if you look on eBay, you can find them. I don't know if you have eBay that available over there, but you can often find them at a discounted price, or where somebody's gone through them and they're used. But there's a little fuzzy balls that come with them, and each of them has there's happiness and love, and so the one of them is called Scribble. And Aria, when we were talking to her about emotions and helping her to understand them, she just fell in love with Scribbles, because Scribbles was confused and he didn't understand. And Scribbles is this little creature, this little puffball, and all these different color lines on him, so he's all kinds of different colors, where all of the other feelings or emotions are a single color. There's a blue one, there's an orange one, there's a red one, there's a yellow one. But Scribbles is all kinds of colors, and that's Aria's favorite. She loves Scribbles, loves to play with Scribbles.
I don't think we've got any more questions.
Complete with questions? That makes sense for everybody? Awesome.
So I could leave the meditation playing to end the session.
Cool. So this meditation, just to give you some background, is a healing meditation, and it's designed to take you into a progressive relaxation. And there's several energetic centers that are in the unconscious that most people aren't aware of, that run their physiology. So there's a glandular center, eliminative, nerve, digestive, muscular, circulatory. And so oftentimes those energetic centers will get out of balance energetically. So this meditation is about breathing into those centers and tapping into the mind energy that brings them into balance. And the orientation is toward strengthening and improving health and sleep. So enjoy it.
Yay.
And thank you for your kind attention. Delight to be here.
And thank you, Michael.
Honored and delighted.
Yeah.
Can I just ask a quick technical question?
Go for it.
Going back to the mind shifter, is it that what comes up for you goes on the right and the mind shifter goes on the left?
Well, it doesn't really matter. Most people, in our culture, writing from left to right, will write the mind shifter on the left-hand side of the page and then write whatever comes up on the other side. Some people will write the mind shifter across the top of the page, and they'll write just right underneath it. Doesn't really matter. The idea is that you write it and just allow it to do free association and let your mind come up with whatever's in the filing system regarding that particular issue. And so each time you write it, you strengthen that energy moving in the unconscious until it breaks through to conscious awareness. And there you are, writing about the trauma memory that you didn't remember happened. Or you may be writing about a trauma memory that happened to great-great-grandmother that, you weren't even aware was there.
Okay, great.
Does that fit?
Yeah, that answers it. I'm just aware of a school of thought that says, if you sleep at night and you have something written down like an affirmation on the left side of your bed, apparently it goes into your brain more. Who knows? I don't know. So that's why, when you said left here and right there, I was like, oh, is there a connection? So thank you.
Not that I'm aware of. Not that I'm aware of. And, we in this work, I started out and I had this belief about affirmations. I used to work with affirmations people. I would suggest never work with an affirmation, ever. Get rid of them. Take anything that you want to use as an affirmation and use it as a mind shifter. See, because, again, because the mind works through resonance, if I hold a thought that, or let's say my mind shifter, let's use that one, or I use it as an affirmation. I have all the time, intelligence, money, energy, and love I need to accomplish all my aspirations. And in my unconscious, there's an energy that says, yeah, and you'll always be broke. Every time I write that, I intensify, yeah, you'll always be broke. And if I'm pretending that this is an affirmation and I'm going to get it, I'm going to close that down, and I'm going to tend to create more brokenness out of that. So what I want to do when I write it is breathe and create a space for, if there's something there about being broke, I want to write the mind shifter and use it as a catalyst to bring every detail of that brokenness up and process through it. Then what I'll be doing is just having a creative thought. Oh, I'm going to create wealth now. Okay. That's my natural state. Go on and do it.
Mhm. Thanks. That makes sense to just clear out what's going on.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. A lot of people use an affirmation to try to force something to be true that really isn't. And what you want to do is clean out the parts of your mind that hold that it isn't true. And once you clean those out, then it's just a creative statement. Boom. You'll go off of that mind energy and create it. Literally, what they're showing in the cell biologist laboratory is that when you think a thought, that thought appears in your structure as a neuropeptide, as an actual molecule. And then that molecule circulates around in your structure until it finds a cell where the receptor site and matches. It locks into the cell, inserts itself in the cell, and becomes chemistry in the cell. That's how creative process works. And if you've got energies in the cell that don't belong in the cell, you want to use the mind shifter as a catalyst to pull them out, forgiveness to get rid of them.
Wow. Brilliant.
Cool.
Um,
Awesome. All right. Thank you for being here.
Can I just ask one very quick question, Michael, about the goal? Sort of my goals are kind of to live in peace and harmony, and then we've got to cancel them. You know, how, I mean, I know you've answered this before.
I'll
But
answer it
what's
again.
the, yeah,
That's a
what's
good
the
question.
idea behind canceling the goal,
Yeah.
please? Thank you.
It's a good idea to come back to often. Gina, it took me 35 years of full-time work with the Aramaic forgiveness process to understand this answer. So if you have to hear it a few times, you know, that's perfectly fine. So I have this goal for peace and harmony. And here I am thinking about my peace and harmony, and I'm in rage. What does that mean? What did you just tell me? I'm not saying you, Gina, but let's say the person who says, yeah, I think about that peace and harmony stuff and I just go into rage. What did you just tell me? In the file, so to speak, in your mind on peace and harmony, there's rage. You got to go into that file and clean it out. You're not canceling the goal because there's anything wrong with the goal for peace and harmony. Man, that's a goal everybody should have globally all the time. But if I realize that when I load the goal for peace and harmony into my mind, and my mind goes into rage or sadness or grief or hatred or vengeance, I've got something in that file to process. When I cancel the goal, the construct of my mind collapses in on itself. And as it collapses in on itself, it creates a pathway into that part of my unconscious. So now I can become aware of what's behind this rage, and I can clean it up. So again, I'm not canceling the goal because there's anything wrong with any goal. Perfectly wonderful, appropriate goals. I cancel the goal because I recognize when I load it in my mind, it resonates something untoward in me that I need to clean up. And I use it as a way to clean it up. Then when I finish that worksheet and I'm clear on that rage, I go back and go, I'm going for peace and harmony. And now I'm in peace and harmony because there's nothing else left in me to go against it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah, kind of. And I loved what you said about affirmations as well. How, yeah, it's been very,
Cool.
very interesting, Michael. Thank you so much.
Delighted, honored. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, everybody. Well, thank you for your time. And, you know, remember the radio shows there. You can sign into Blog Talk, you know, at 1 o'clock, 5 days a week, Monday through Friday. If you don't have access to a US telephone, you can sign into Blog Talk. You can create an account. It's simple and they protect your information very well. And you can listen to the radio show on your computer or on your phone if you've got an internet connection. And then if you've got a question, you can, in the chat, you can ask your question and we'll answer it. Or if you've got the Forgiveness, the Reality Management app on your phone, you go into any page on the app, hit a button. If you've got a question, type it. It'll go to Jeannie. Jeannie will read it on the next radio show. We'll answer it, send you back a link that tells you where your answer is, and you can go back and listen to it. So there are lots of ways to get support. We're here to do it. And anything we can do to assist and support, that's what we're here for.
Awesome. I'm going to leave the meditation playing. I'm going to mute us all. Ready?
All right, let's go for it. Blessings, everybody.
And this is why is this happening to me again? Completing the reality worksheets works for me. It feels like life is giving me a big hug. Yeah, I like that picture. I'm going to take you through the meditation. And obviously, if anybody wants to donate, as you all know, Hear My Voice Book Club is a non-profit event, but I ask all donations to go to Michael for this evening's sessions or this morning's.
Sit or lie in a comfortable position. If sitting, place both feet on the floor, facing the center of the room with your hands on your lap. This exercise will take 20 minutes. It is suggested that you make a decision now as to whether, upon completion, you wish to remain in the relaxed state or go into a deep sleep, and for what time period you choose to do either of these two. If you wish to come back to a normal level of awareness upon completion, you should count from 1 to 5, slowly as you gradually return to a wide-awake, alert state on the count of 5 when we have finished this exercise. Take a deep breath, and as you close your eyes, draw in this energy. As you exhale, exhale all negativity, allowing your body to relax. When practiced regularly, relaxation will bring benefits beyond your greatest expectations. This exercise is a technique for learning complete and total relaxation by experiencing both tension and relaxation in the same exercise, and therefore building brain cell impressions which are capable of detecting even minute tensions so that they can be controlled before expressing in the body. Rather than active relaxation or trying to relax, we are concerned here with passive relaxation. That is, I will allow whatever parts of my body to relax as will. Each time this exercise is practiced, every part of your being will relax and come into balance easier than ever before. As you change your thoughts, you change your experience. And this exercise will be a major step in renewing your total expression. Take another deep breath. Inhale energy. Exhale all negativity. Now slightly tense the hands, the arms, shoulders. Be aware of this tension and how it feels. Now very slowly begin to relax down through the shoulders, the arms, and the hands. Be aware of this wave of relaxation as it replaces all tension. Relax the forearms, the wrists, and the fingers. Imagine a wave of relaxation flowing down from the head throughout the whole body to the tips of the toes. Gently tense the muscles of the scalp, the forehead, the eyelids, and the tissue around the eyes, the face, and the jaw muscles. Be aware of the tension and how it feels. Slowly begin to relax the face, scalp, and jaw muscles. Using creative imagination, the great creative intelligence within, feel a wave of relaxation flowing downward from the head throughout the whole body, through the neck, the shoulders, the arms, and hands, down through the chest and abdominal area, the pelvis, thighs, calves, through the ankles and feet to the tips of the toes. Take in another deep breath, and as you do, tense the muscles of the shoulders, the back, the chest, and stomach. Be aware of the tension and how it feels. Now slowly begin to release the tension and feel the wave of relaxation from the scalp downward through the neck, the back, the chest, and stomach. Imagine the internal organs of the chest and the stomach cavities relaxing. Every cell, nerve, tissue, and gland functioning in a perfect, healthy manner. Now tense the muscles in the hips, the buttocks, the thighs, the calves, and the feet. Be aware of the tension and how it feels as you let relaxation flood your whole being. Feel the sense of freedom and well-being that accompanies it. Now, using your great imagination, see your body as a large plastic bag with plugs in the big toes. Imagine that any residual tension in the body is like water And now, as you remove the plugs, all remaining tension flows down and out of the body. Take a moment to imagine a state of mental and physical well-being and complete relaxation. Each time you repeat this exercise, you will achieve a more complete relaxation faster and easier than the last time. In the future, to practice and realize all of the benefits of this exercise, you will have only to touch your thumb to your 2 forefingers 3 times while counting 3, 2, 1. This will act as a signal for your body to go into this relaxed state and will alleviate all emotional and mental tensions. This 3-2-1 technique can also be used to bring forgotten information to mind and can be used as a focal point for concentrating the mind on any image that you choose to manifest. You need only to remember to use this technique regularly to manifest the multiple benefits of this exercise in your life. I will now count backward from 10 to 1, and as I do, you will go into deeper and deeper states of relaxation, to deeper, healthier, and more productive levels of your being. 10, 9, deeper concentration. 8, totally relaxed. 7, 6, deeper, healthier, more productive levels of your being. 5, 4, deeper and deeper. 3, 2, safe and secure, totally relaxed. 1. We are now going to create and reinforce a health image to be lived. This image will become indelibly impressed on your mind, and you will find that it will automatically, with no conscious effort on your part, express in your body perfectly. In fact, your whole organism, every muscle, organ, and tissue, every cell will respond to produce perfect mental, emotional, and trim physical health. As you hear these images, visualize them with their associated suggestions, so that with repetition and acting it out in your mind's eye, you will provide the necessary brain cell impressions, which will then become intuitive. Your only limitations are your beliefs, as they restrict actions because of the attitudes they create. To manifest something in your life, you need only surround yourself with that idea. The thoughts and words you indulge in are the seeds of creation. To indulge in the negative is to limit Spirit's ability to express. There is nothing to learn from holding yesterday's regret or tomorrow's phantom fear. Speak only that which you wish to manifest, and you will be automatically drawn to people and circumstances that will aid you in expressing for your highest good. Live in the living now and anticipate with enthusiasm and expectation as you allow present good to appear. The Creator of life has placed within you 6 health images and control centers that regulate all of your body functions perfectly, unless disturbed by thought or actions contrary to their orderly operation. If you've been prone to indulge in any of the negative emotions, all of these will be gradually eliminated from your experience by an act of your imagination and will. They will melt away as a dream vanishes when we awaken. All of the negative emotions will gradually come under control and be displaced by positive attributes. The glandular system will function perfectly under control of the innate. With this perfect function will come a better ability to concentrate, relax, or sleep. Memory will improve, and all natural abilities will develop according to your choice. Energy levels will be higher than ever before, but fully controllable, as digestion and elimination also improve. The eliminative system will function perfectly to filter and expel all toxins and foreign matter out of the body in a normal manner. The kidneys, skin cells, intestines, lungs, and all other eliminative organs and cells will function perfectly. any dysfunction will gradually disappear until this system functions without interference under perfect control of spirit and will express as perfect eliminative health. The nervous system is functioning perfectly without interference, as all brain cells which control this system are under the guidance of the innate. Being freed of negative emotions, each electrical impulse in this system will occur only as necessary for perfect nerve function. All of the sense organs improve their function as the solar plexus normalizes and elimination is improved for perfect nerve health. The digestive system is under the guidance of the all-knowing power within, and you will be inclined to follow the laws of nutrition as you choose only natural, healthy foods, properly combined and prepared, which, when chewed properly, will be digested perfectly, so that all of the nutrients required by the body will be assimilated and distributed to each cell in the body. As the liver and stomach glands are stimulated, you will eat only when hungry, and weight will normalize as the body is toned. Any dysfunction in the digestive system is now normalizing for total bodily health and will express as perfect digestive health. The muscular system has perfect tone and holds the skin taut in all areas of the body for perfect skin tone. The muscles are supple and will relax on command. Touching the thumb to the 2 forefingers 3 times while counting 3, 2, 1 will produce total relaxation. This can be done in either of 2 ways: by instructing the mind to either increase its powers of concentration or go into a deep state of relaxation as the body relaxes. Anytime you find yourself tense while driving, working, this signal will remind the body to remain calm and relaxed. Whenever you choose to sleep, you can use this technique to quickly take you into a deep, refreshing sleep. The multiple benefits of this exercise will be renewed as it is practiced, and you will become more relaxed, easier, and more quickly than ever before. Any dysfunction in the muscular system will gradually come under control of the innate and express as perfect and strong muscular health. The circulatory system is functioning properly and carrying the exact combination of nutrients as required by every cell in the body. The heart is strong and normal, maintaining proper blood pressure under the regulation of the thyroid gland. Spinal fluid moves and lymph vessels function perfectly. Any obstruction in any of the circulatory vessels will gradually dissolve and pass out through the normal eliminative channels, and will do so in a comfortable, healthy manner. All body fluids flow in a proper way, exchanging nutrients for wastes where required, and otherwise doing the job for which intended without interference. You will be inclined to follow the law of movement, and a sense of strength and well-being pervades your whole consciousness as circulation normalizes. All aches and pains along with their causes will disappear, and the body will be invigorated as it expresses perfect circulatory health. Feel the hands of your higher self. Gently stretch the spine into perfect alignment as all of the body systems are stimulated to normal function. The rebuilding system is being furnished with the proper materials to rebuild tissue, blood cells, muscle tone, nerves, and all of your organs with normal, healthy cells. As this regeneration takes place, all of the discarded cells will be cast out of the body through the normal eliminative channels. To aid in this process, you will be inclined to follow the laws of recuperation and sanitation. Any inclination toward negative or depressed states of mind are being eliminated by an act of your imagination and will. Any situation which would have brought on these states of mind in the past will now be viewed with detachment and bring a cheerful and happy response. The spirit within is the eternal fountain of rich ideas, and turning over problems will result in solutions as you become master of your mind, body, and emotions. Confidence will replace any feelings of inferiority as you become more and more aware of the incalculable power within. By the renewal of your mind, you will be transformed, and there is no limit to the achievement you will attain. The words can't, impossible, and unable to will disappear from your vocabulary, as the negative vibrations they send out only attract negative results. As you conceive it as law, and as you consider a task, that is, allow it to become easy, the vibrations of that thought will attract the desired result. Take a deep breath, inhaling energy, love, and life. When you exhale, pour this love energy out into the center of the room. As this love energy builds up, hold in your mind's eye an image of anyone that you know who needs help to balance their physical, mental, spiritual, or emotional well-being. Imagine taking from this pool of energy and sending it to them. Image and see in your mind's eye the person you have selected, healing both in attitude and in body. Now take another deep breath, breathing in energy and life. And when you exhale, pour out more of this love energy into the center of the room. The most powerful vibration in the world is love, a very real vibration which can be likened to cosmic soil, the vibration which is the natural medium for the soul's progression. As this love energy builds up, think about yourself for a moment. Do it unselfishly, something we don't do often enough. If you have any problems, take of this love energy and apply it to the solution. Apply it to melt the problem away, much as the sun would melt an ice cube. See it happening. Take a moment to do this and enjoy being bathed in these love vibrations. Every day, in every way, better and better. Now and in the future, you can draw from this pool of energy, any place, any time that you wish. All of my faculties, will, reason, intuition, perception, and imagination, are expanding in a positive direction daily. I remember and unite with my true self, as my basic concepts are founded on the eternal truths of life, and I know, feel, and believe that my subconscious mind responds and reflects in my body and environment the unlimited wisdom of the universal mind, as it knows all and will communicate wisdom as needed to enable me to accomplish all things and advance on the path of attainment. All pressure from outside is false, and I convert it to abundance as I put everything in perspective, realizing that I am in eternity. I am falling in line with divine order, and I release from my life everything, person, and situation that no longer is a part of this order, and I am released by these things, persons, and situations, forever undisturbed by them. When an image is created in my mind and spoken, I accept it as real, and know that it is only a matter of time before it becomes a physical reality. I am part of the self-expression of spirit and individualize omniscience, omnipresence, and omnipotence. No power is greater than the healing presence within me, and I gladly accept the renewal of my health, abundance, and happiness. Balance, beauty, love, peace, and abundance are the normal state of man and are gifts which I gladly accept from Spirit. I am in the living now and allow present good to appear. I fill each day with gladness, courage, love, and trust.